Hello and welcome back to a live studio session with me, Cynthia. And today I am focusing on a specific problem. I started these panels about 2 weeks ago. Well, the first go after collage on these. And I wanted to come back last Saturday and finish them, and I forgot that I had a previous commitment last Saturday. So here I am another week later to work on these. And the specific problem that I want to address is finishing them. So in the past, you've seen me start various work and then not really finish it. And so this time I thought maybe it would be interesting to take it the next step. So I'll link the first video in the show notes when I make the replay public. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on this particular piece. I really like everything that's happening so far. There's just a few little things here that I want to do differently. So I don't know, something happened here. I think there was a bubble or something that kind of chipped away. It actually kind of looks like a face right there. But, you know, I'm not that happy with that because it also kind of looks like a mistake when you look at it in the context of the whole piece. So that's one of the things I want to do. And then over here, I feel like this, I want this to be darker. And I also just want to be careful. I'm not going to add acrylic paint to this because I really want to keep the different layers that are happening here. So I'm going to be starting out just using right here, right now, with this distress ink over here in this corner and try to make that a little darker to match what's happening there. So let me zoom in here a little bit. And I hope somebody will remind me if I forget to zoom out, but I'm going to try to remember to do that. I get carried away sometimes and start making, and then I forget that I've got to make sure I stay on camera. So this distress ink, oh, that's good. That's getting darker there where I wanted to do that. I think that that's working. I use black in this walnut. Okay, so I like that. And then I want to work on this little area here. So I see there's a few people on today. Thanks for joining me. And I just want to let everyone know that this is a channel where on Saturdays, I explore mixed media. I explore using acrylic paint with collage and water-based inks and different things, and just experiment with no fixed outcome in mind. And then sometimes I see something that I really like, and then I start to just let that guide the rest of my process. So that's what's happening today. And I'm trying to, I feel like this one's almost complete, and so that's what I'm doing today, is trying to finish it. So I like this. I've got a couple of these greens here. Hopefully this will, I want to just get that white out of there. I don't know if this is going to work. See if we'll zoom in here a little bit more. I'm hesitant to put, I don't feel like I'm getting much. I'm hesitant to put acrylic paint over it because it's so opaque. Maybe this is a different green, and this is, some of these might be a little dried out. Okay, that's a darker green. I don't know. I also could have filled that maybe a little bit. It's just a divot there, and it looks, I don't know, maybe I'm making more of it than it actually is. I feel like it just, I'm looking for an X-Acto blade. Because I don't know, I feel like I could peel more of this away and I would maybe like it a little bit better if it weren't so round. peel some of that acrylic off and maybe work back into that. And I guess this little round spot is what's bothering me. I don't want it to be round there. Just the other day I discovered that maybe these are good to scrape that up a little bit there. Little nail file action. And maybe I need to put a little darker in there. I don't know, I feel like I like that better. It feels a little more integrated. All right. Let's see if I can get back in the center here. Get this back in there. Yeah, it almost looks like a face right there, but I like that better. Even if that is still a face, I think I like it better than the way it was before. And I'm gonna zoom back in here a second. There's still that one little light area that I don't like, but maybe I'm gonna, I have a palette that is a Stay Wet palette, and so I can keep the acrylic paint from, actually it was 2 weeks ago that I worked on this, and it stays wet. So these are some of the same greens that I used actually on the palette that we're gonna do this. I'm gonna work on this, not palette, panel next. And I saved those greens, so I like that. All right, sorry about that. Okay. All right, so as I zoom out here and look at this, I think I'm pretty happy with where this is. I think that this piece is probably finished. There was one other little thing I thought I would do, and that is I really like the way this looks like light coming into sort of a cavern or something like that. So, but that said, I kind of wanted to maybe strengthen a little bit, but I want to be careful not to do too much here, because I like the layers, and just I don't want to lose, the depth that's happening there, but maybe just a little bit more. So this is just a white, sorry, I think I'm bumping my camera. It's attached to my table. Just want to bring this white in here a little bit more crisply along this edge and taper it out. Again, I didn't want to use paint because you know sometimes you lose the collage that's going underneath it. Going on underneath it, I should say. Okay, so I think I don't want to do too much more with this. Okay, so on Wednesday when I was here, I mentioned that I was really excited. I think I mentioned in a previous video that I had applied to some art exhibitions, and like a long time ago I was thinking about it and I mentioned it on here, and I finally did it. So I am in 2 shows, and then I found out yesterday that I have 2 more pieces in another show. So I'm pretty excited. My very first one don't know what's happening there, is on the 21st up in Grayling, Michigan. And then there's one in Traverse City, Michigan. I think that one starts September, the beginning of September. And then one in Petoskey, Michigan, and that one starts in toward the third week in September. So that was just so kind of fun and exciting. I am really looking forward to doing that. That's a little more yellow than I wanted there. I don't know if I can get that off. That's not quite what I wanted to do. I was trying to cover up that little white spot that was, I don't know, I guess it's a fleck of acrylic that came off. That's maybe not the right yellow either. So, yep, I feel like onward, I've kind of crossed into this new territory of with my art, kind of entering it into some shows and stuff. So that's been fun and exciting. And who knows, maybe I'll do a little video when I'm up there and post that later. I just feel like I want to do something with that white spot that was there. Okay, I think that this, the hardest thing to know is when to stop, right? It's easy to overwork sometimes. Just try to, I don't know, some of those little white spots, they might be not noticeable from far away. Just feeling like I wanted to fill in things that looked like mistakes. Okay, so I think this one's done. I don't have a name for this one yet, but I really like this one, and I didn't really do that much with this one. So I'm going to set this one aside, and I have this one. So this one was the easy one in a sense. I felt like I knew what I wanted to do with this one, but this one, this one, I love the way it looks right now, and I don't want to overdo it. And I sat with it the past, when I had a chance, I came back up here and stared at this. And I have to admit, I often lay in bed at night trying to fall asleep, and I think about my paintings. This is one of them that I've been thinking about and trying to visualize what I need to do to this one. I'm putting a few things away over here so that I can stay organized while I'm talking. So, yeah, I have to admit, I'm kind of nervous about this one. I like it, but I do want it to feel kind of like a forest, or, because it really does feel like that to me. And I kind of want to emphasize that. So as I looked at this one, let me do something here. I want to say hi to Joey. Hi, Joey. How are you? How are things in California? Okay, I'm zooming or lifting this up so I don't bump my camera. Oh, thanks for that. Yes, it's pretty exciting to be in those shows. Okay, so what I was going to talk about briefly, and then I'm going to try to dive in, which is I want to try to emphasize some of these as tree trunks, and maybe there's a little bit of foliage up here. But I don't want to do too much because I really just want it to be suggestive a little bit more than it is right now. So yeah, okay, so that's what I'm going to do. And I have some colors over here. So I have to make the decisions about where I'm going to sort of push the background back and bring the tree trunks forward. And I feel like the tree trunks are already, showing themselves. Like this almost reminds me of a sycamore tree, the way this is cracked right here. And then this almost looks like I could either think of this as one big trunk going up, or maybe it's narrower and that gets pushed back into the background. It's a little harder in here because this might be the background here, and then another tree here, or this could almost be a huge tree right here. So I have to dive in and stop talking about it. And I am going to use some acrylic, but I want to be a little bit, I think I want to try to water it down. I don't want to cover up everything that's happening underneath there. I just really like what's happening underneath here. So I think I want this to get pushed into the background. So I was thinking of the foreground as being darker, and the background as being lighter. So I'm just gonna start out tentatively here. Try not to be too tentative, but at the same time, don't want to be too heavy-handed. Try to keep this watered down. And then maybe here. Right now I'm starting these out the similar paint. It's just mostly white and yellow ochre, but I really want those other colors that are beneath it to kind of come into play behind. So I don't know if this is that big tree, or it could be a tree here and a tree here. And I want to keep these suggestive of trees. I mean, I'm telling you that I'm treating them, I'm trying to view them as trees, but I like it when the viewer kind of can bring their own interpretation to the work. So I try not to get too literal. Okay, so I feel like this is starting to work, but I feel like I haven't resolved what I want to do in here. And then maybe these have some other colors on them. Like, even if this is this tree, it needs to be brought together in here somehow. I'm mixing a sort of gray blue. Well, I wanted it to be a little grayer than that for right here. And a video that I keep saying I'm going to make, and I still have not done it, one of these days I will get to it, is one about standing back and looking at your work, because I'm going to do that right now. Stand up and look at it here. And, still it's kind of hard to tell what's happening yet. The background needs to get, I'm not sure I love that shape either, but let's see more of this green. I need to put more of that up there. I sort of felt like this area needed to feel like a little bit of foliage of sorts, but not too literal. What is up with, I didn't wash my brush very well. Stiff. See what happens with a little bit of water and some gravity there with those colors. I always like the effect. Okay, so I think these areas did get a little lighter, but then I don't know if there's enough contrast yet in some places. That's maybe a little bit too much orange in there. Probably what's going to help this is bringing some of these tree trunk, like bringing this one in front of this one, and maybe this one in front of that one as well will probably help that. Right now this feels like it's in front of that, and I want to put that behind that, so I'll do that. Wow, Gustav Klimt, wow, that'd be awesome. I would love to paint like that. I think that that helped. And then maybe the same kind of thing on this side. This one, same thing. Oh, I'm running out of that beautiful green. I have to mix up some more. I'm mixing up some of that mossy green. I forgot what blue I used. It's yellow ochre and a blue to get that beautiful olive. I kind of lost this. I really like that. I'm not going to go back in there and see if I can make some of that bluish brown right there. Now it feels like that's more in, you know, that these are more in front of the background. Oh, I love those colors too, Joey. Yep, thanks so much for that. The colors in this one I really, really like. And it's a pretty limited palette, actually. I think I'm using Indian red, yellow ochre. I think this is burnt umber because I didn't have any burnt sienna. And I can't remember what blue I used. I might be ultramarine. I don't love that up there yet, but I might let that dry and then come back in there and do something with that. That's not done yet, but I like the direction of this. I like the fact that this really looks like I'm starting to see the different foreground and background here. I don't like using that. That's not working. Let's see, where's the right color? Okay, so I'm kind of feeling happy about that part right there. And I feel like I lost a little bit of my underpainting there. But once that dries, I can kind of come back and do that. So I'm liking this part right here. I like the way that now reads that that tree is behind these two trees. And I might still have adjustments like this green right here. I think I want that to be more of that darker blue with the burnt umber right there. So I like that And I can always go back in here too a little bit. After this is dried, and integrate things a little bit more. I like what's happening down here. I feel like I don't need to do anything here. I still feel like I need to work over here, and maybe this tree just needs an overall glaze of some sort with maybe one of these, not this color, maybe one of these greens, or possibly I have one called Weathered Wood around here somewhere. This, I think it's like a kind of a gray blue. I think maybe if I glaze that after this dries, that might really help just kind of pull that one together. I don't really think there's much more for me to do on this today. I was hoping to completely finish it, but I think I want this top part to dry. And also, I don't know, I kind of like, I think I need to tilt this some more. I'm going to turn it upside down. I feel like the gravity in the water would be creating kind of a texture up here that I like for the, the idea of the foliage. Foliage. Is it foliage? Or foliage? It's foliage. So I turned this over because I think I would like to maybe do a little bit more here. Like, I don't know, is this the background or is that a tree right there? Right now, looks kind of like a tree, but that, I feel like that's not the right shape. So I'm going to change that. Maybe I'll put a little bit more of this in here. I don't know if I really like that I just did, but I think that it needed I needed to change that shape. Soften it with some water. In fact, I think I might soften all of it with some water. And so once, did I wet that too much? I can put a little bit more of this blue-gray right here. And that puts that tree in front of that one. Maybe that's... So you can see that when I start, if you've been here before, a lot of times when I start these, I'm maybe a little bit more rambunctious with what I do and kind of a little freer. And this is really maybe the first time that I tried to show you what the next steps are when I try to finish something. And I don't even think I've shown enough of my finished. That's another video that I would like to make, which is, maybe showing some of the finished pieces, which I haven't really done that much of. So this gives you a sense, maybe a little bit better. I think this needs to be darker here. A better sense of, how I try to complete these. I'm a little more tentative if I can see where I'm headed. Sometimes I still can't really see where I'm headed, and then it doesn't matter. I kind of go at it again if I don't really feel like I see something emerging from the work. if that makes any sense. So up here, I feel like a little bit more definition could happen, or something could happen here, but I think it's pretty close. I think it's pretty close to being done. I really like this one. This is like the big tree. I don't know, maybe I don't love that bump out right there. I suppose if I don't like this, I could change it. I think I need to, come back over the top of these so that that paint layer is pushed back. So I think that this is pretty close to being finished. And I mean, at least I'll probably want to come back up here and revisit this at the top. I don't know for sure. Sometimes I have to really let it dry in order to see what else needs to be done. So, let's see. Also, sometimes, one of the things I've found out about myself as I've been doing this now for a few months is I'll end the live stream and then all of a sudden I will figure out, oh, I should have done this or I should have done that. It's almost like this first 30 minutes that I'm in here, I'm just getting warmed up. And then after that, I'm able to make, decisions about the piece that I wish I would have made in my live stream. So I'm going to try to stay on here a little bit longer sometimes. And I might not be doing very much. But yeah, I kind of figured that out recently. I was like, if I would have just stayed on a few more minutes longer, I could have showed everybody that. Over here, I feel like this felt like a tree trunk back there that's sort of in the distance. Maybe it's, scrape some of that away. so when that dries, I could emphasize that a little bit more. Although, you know, it's having the edges not be perfect also is, you know, something that I like about these. I just like the planes to be in the right place, right? Like the background to read as background. And yeah. And maybe that needs some other color in there. Might need a smaller brush for that. Or this. Oh. Oh yeah, you know, brushes aren't everything for me. Yeah, using, well, these brushes are really interesting for inks. Yeah, I just have these cheap plastic palette knives. And I see some people, that's what they use all the time for their work. Okay, I really like this piece. And I feel like it's very close to being finished. And maybe just letting it dry a little bit more. And maybe just touching up a few areas. And I don't know. I think that it's not really dry enough yet. I'd like to let all of this dry in here, but maybe I could add a little bit of this on here and see if it's giving me the, no, that's not the color. I was thinking about using this because it's got that blue here. I'm kind of trying to see if just a little bit of this kind of brings it together, you know, in terms, almost like a glaze. I have done glazing before with acrylic, and I feel like it's easy to take it too far. It makes me nervous. I think this might be working the way I want it to. Like down here, I don't know why it's not really taking it right there. Let me see if I have another brush that I can use. I want this to have that, some of that bluish. I gotta make it grayer. I mean, I don't mind if it's lighter there. I want it to feel like it's part of the rest of it. I think that did it. Even here, maybe that's what that needed. A little bit more. Of the blue on there. Well, I think that that's probably going to be it for today because I really do want this part. This is pretty wet because I put quite a bit of water on there. And maybe just tilt this up for a little bit and see how some of that white starts to run into there. You can kind of maybe start to see it here in the corner. So this week, I usually do a Wednesday watercolor session, but this week I will not be doing it. I have other commitments on Wednesday, so I won't be here then, but I will be here the following Saturday. And yeah, I'm gonna have some Saturdays where I'm not sure if I'm going to be getting back from going to these shows up north in time to do a live stream at 2. So I don't know, maybe, well, I'll just have to see how the schedule goes, and maybe I do something a little bit later in the day, or yeah, or I'll have to just do something later. I mean, a different Saturday. All right, well, I think, so that's this one. Looking pretty good. And I'll set this one aside. I do want it to tilt. And what did I do with the other one? Oh, here it is, this one. And I think that this one is finished as well. I like to set it on my easel and then like take a look at it from a distance and see what else needs to be done. And in terms of like contrast, you know, I want to make sure, like this one, I think it's really good. This is light, and then I've got some darks in some places and some mid values. So I think this one's done. I like to think about it and then, you know, maybe try to come up with a title that means something. Actually, I might do one thing right here. See, this is what I mean. I think I'm done, and then I think of something else that I might want to do. I was thinking that maybe this needed, I wanted to, I don't know. Yes, the face did remain. I didn't see it at first, but then once I saw it, yeah, I thought, you know what? That's pretty interesting, and I don't want to change that. I don't know why. I feel like this needs to be more vertical. And then I want to put a little bit more there. And that, okay. Yeah. And it's time to stop before I overwork. No, actually, I think most of the time I don't overwork things, but every now and again, yes. All right, so I want to thank everyone for spending some time with me here in the studio today and following along with me to finish up these two pieces. This was the easy one. This was the harder one, but I really think that it came along the way I kind of imagined it. And look at that. Starting to get some really interesting things happening at the very top, which I really like that. I don't know, might be a little bit glaring because it's still wet. So, yes. And I will, next time I'm here, next Saturday, I will show these after they're dry, or maybe I'll even put it in the community notes. Sometimes I do put a picture there so that people can see it. So anyway, thank you again so much. And I won't be here Wednesday, but I will be here next Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern Time for another live studio session. So until then, have a great week. Bye for now.